All right, if you're just joining us, we have none other than Bill Predebon. Bill is a absolutely phenomenal person, and before joining Renatus, Bill actually, back in 2007, Bill was a realtor and loan officer, and cumulatively in that year, he only made $17,000. And so he was really discouraged and disheartened by that. In 2008, Bill had the opportunity he found out about Renatus, and he saw a way in which he could not only learn about real estate, but also apply what he learned because of the nurturing environment that Renatus provided him. So in his first year with Renatus, Bill completed over 13 transactions, made over $190,000. And ever since, Bill just has absolutely taken off. He's completed over 125 deals, grown his team. And today we are fortunate enough to have Bill with us, talk to us more about real estate and how real estate creates more sales. So Bill, I'd like to hand the mic over to you. How are you today, Bill?
Hey, brother. I'm pretty good. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Wow, thanks for that pretty badass introduction there. I appreciate that, my friend. That's awesome. Thanks for taking over and helping out Ron and helping out the team and the nation and hosting this call and doing what you're doing. I have no idea how you do what you guys do to set this up. So that's awesome. I appreciate it, and I'm grateful. So cool, man. Thanks for having me. Right on. Yeah, this weekend's going to be great, you guys. Wherever you're going to be watching Garrett, it should be a pretty amazing event, and obviously one that corporate's excited about putting on for us and having us able to watch all over live streaming, and it's free, which is really cool. And you can make it an event and charge for the event. We're going to host it here in Arizona at our office, and we are going to just charge for lunch, $15. And then of course we've got the I think the epic at lunch that they're going to do the 5 pillars in between. So that'll be great for guests as well. So cool. All right, let's kick this party off. Let's see. I guess I'll put it on video. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. Sorry, guys, just trying to figure this out. Did you share it, Avi?
Yes, I have.
All right, cool. You can't, oh no, you can see me though, right? Or no?
Yep, we can see you.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. So that's weird. All I see is this picture of me. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I believe that right now we're just seeing, we haven't seen anything that you've shared.
No. I'm just trying to get this big picture of me out of my out of the way. So all right, so there's that. Sorry, guys. All right. I wonder if it's the mode that I'm in.
I'm not sure how to make your video go full screen, but
do you see that? Do you still see the picture of me?
Yeah, that's the main thing. And if I switch over to the other screen, I can see you on the participant list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, I'll just go with it. Oh, there we go. Wow. That's an even bigger picture of me. That's funny. Okay, we'll go that direction. So I got 61 people on the call, folks. That's okay, I guess. If you guys want to reach out to anybody, feel free to do that and share and get everybody on here. Remember, what I'm going to do is throw up my cell phone, 760-533-3141. That's my cell. It's on the chat. If you guys got a question, you all know, some of you guys are new, which is great. Welcome. I listen to this call every single morning. No matter who's training, it's amazing and what you learn. But feel free. Awesome Tuesday. Awesome. If you guys have any questions about anything that has to do with your marketing or your real estate, just reach out and chat in, and we can change topics. So what I'm going to talk about is just kind of a step two of part two of last week, talking about real estate a little bit, sharing some real estate knowledge that, in my opinion, has a double effect. So you've got the opportunity to when you're talking to your prospects about the fact that you're having a nationwide real estate mastermind with investors that are doing things across the country. So that's a great share that you can create intrigue with. And then as well as once you understand some more real estate, which we'll get through here, it's a great way to introduce it to people as well. And having that knowledge, being able to walk the walk, talk the talk, if you will, even just talk the talk with other people, you're going to be surprised at what is going to be so much greater than your guests and your clients, that it can go a long way for getting them to want to come and see some of the information that you're learning. Brother Bill, here's a question. How would you out that statement pitch together towards your clients? How would you put out that statement pitch towards your clients? Which one? The one about understanding real estate? So I didn't quite understand the question. I love questions. So inviting people to nationals. Okay, how would you put out that statement pitch towards your clients about inviting people to nationals? Okay. What part of the country are you in? Are you in Utah?
What?
Colorado. Okay, cool. So I'm in Arizona. So Colorado, Arizona, all pretty close to Utah. You got that same 9-hour difference or whatever it is. So you're most likely going to take a flight or possibly drive, but it's a decent day's drive. So I think that it depends on who you're inviting. I think I've never personally invited somebody that I don't know to nationals. And what I mean by that, if I've got a cold market lead and they're not even in Renatus yet in any fashion, in any level, inviting them to nationals, in my opinion, is maybe cart before horse. I want to get them enrolled first. Now, if you've got some more market that you're working with, or you've got people that are on the fence that maybe have been to an event and you want to get them to nationals, maybe they haven't enrolled yet, they haven't signed up yet, they haven't become an IMA yet. It always comes back to question-based selling. And what I mean by that is they've got to have a reason to go. And in my opinion, it has to be their reason. We can want something for someone in real estate too, you guys. We can want something for someone for whatever reason we feel it's necessary that they get a part of this and that they become a part of it. And what would be good for them and what education they would learn from and all these things that we want to project on them and get them to understand that would be good for them. But if it's not their idea, it's a longer, harder sell. So we have to ask questions, and obviously all the trainings we talk about talks about these questions. But when it comes to nationals, we've got to understand. We've got to maybe ask them, what would they feel would benefit them the most in getting into real estate or getting into business, right? And understanding the power of Renatus, right? So if depending on where they're at in their Renatus due diligence period, you'd say, listen, let me ask you this. I know you're thinking about this. I know you've seen some things, or, I understand how this is how you feel. I understand you're going through this, but let me ask you this. What do you think it would take for you to fully understand Renatus and want to engage in what we have to offer, right? And then whatever their answer is, it could be, I just got to see the value. I've got to know that I could do it. I've got to understand that if I'm going to spend 20 grand, I want to get 20 grand back, and how fast I can get it. I just want to know for sure that it's real, that it's not going away. I want to know that it works for everybody. I want to know that, it's not just a sales thing. It's people actually doing real estate. Whatever they say, when it comes to what they think it would take for them to get involved, or for them to start a business, or for them to get into real estate, or for them to dump 20 grand into something, whatever their answer is, we acknowledge it. We just acknowledge it. And you go, great. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's why what you're telling me is that you need to see this firsthand. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Then you're telling me you need to go to nationals. And now it's their idea again. And it's like, that's why you need to go to nationals. That is exactly, in fact, you just helped me understand the definition of nationals by telling me what you're going to experience at nationals is going to help you to make that decision. Whether it's join us or not, at least you'll have all the facts, because you're going to meet everybody that is doing real estate, doing business, had the same questions, or whatever. Then you go on a little bit of detail and then maybe ask another question. Don't you agree with me? Wouldn't you think that would be the best way for you to see it? And you ask one more question that is going to be a yes answer, right? So hopefully that helps. I would absolutely ask them to give you the answer, and then you agree with their answer. I hope that makes sense, because whatever their answer is, the nationals will provide it. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. And Michael did just an absolutely amazing job yesterday of talking about nationals, the power of nationals, asking people to come out on the line and explain what they did to go to nationals, dissipating the cost of nationals. I think it's just an amazing job he did yesterday. I'm sure he'll elaborate more on it as the nationals comes on, and he'll talk about it again if you guys missed that. So good question. If we now, I hope that a lot of you guys were on the webinar last night. Unbelievable webinar with Christian George. I'll tell you, that guy's pretty genius. Like Bob Snyder, he surrounds himself with a bunch of freaking geniuses, and Christian George pretty smart. I think I have a follow-up question for that as well. What would be the one thing you would want from this nationals event to feel like it was worth it? What would be? Oh, yeah. For your client, you mean? That would make sense. Perfect. Yep, I agree with you. That's a great follow-up question. And then you can tell them, yep. Awesome. So with that, you guys, Avni was talking about a little bit about my real estate in the first year. And, now I'm probably up near 130 deals, give or take, that I've done. I just bought 3 more doors the other day with absolutely no money and no credit. I borrowed $45,000 in about 2 hours over a text message, and 10% interest, no points for 4 months. And I got a hard money loan, and I closed on that deal with absolutely no money and no credit. And I bought it for $170,000. It's going to, gross rents are going to be, believe it or not, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,800 with a new national, a new state funded, kind of like a Section 8 program, but it's not Section 8. It's guaranteed government assistance on rents. And needs $5,000 worth of work, and it's worth $225,000. So my net worth went up $50,000 just by closing on that property. And things are powerful with real estate. And so, we have the opportunity when it comes to marketing to be able to talk the language. And there are classes that we can watch and learn. And I know that everybody else on this call is doing this. But let's take it to the next level, right? So, I was in a one-on-one yesterday with a guy who's going to get enrolled. And believe it or not, he's a very intelligent man. And he's in his 60s. And he's been a pilot his whole life. has had some amazing stories. I heard one of the craziest stories I ever heard of him flying over Exxon Valdez at the time that it actually got grounded. Just an amazing story. And so what was interesting is he actually bought a house. This story is going to make sense to you guys. So he bought a house, and he did it creatively, no education. Did it on 3 years balloon payments and stuff. I was following his explanation a little bit, and then he had these balloon payments each year, and one of them came due, and he had a 5-day or 10-day grace period, and he was 5 days late making the payment because he was out of town. And the lady came up to him and said, hey, listen, I'm going to foreclose on you. You're late. And he's like, no, I've got a grace period. I was out of town. And, given his situation, he didn't want to deal with that anymore. He didn't want to have the possibility of somebody taking over his house. And he bought this house creatively, without education, but he was able to do it. You don't have to have it. You work your way through it, right? You trial and error your way through it. Well, it got to the point where he was being threatened to be foreclosed on. And so, he decided to use his retirement to pay off the house that he owed her. And it wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough. And so he took out this retirement funds early, and then he got hit with penalties and interest from the government. And then he took out a mortgage on the house because it was paid off in order to pay off the government, the IRS. And it left a pretty bad taste in his mouth. Right? Because he worked so hard to have this retirement, and then they hit him with all penalties and interest. And he had this great creative way of buying this house, and then she was threatening to take his house, and probably couldn't have really done it because he would have solved the cure notice or the foreclosure by catching her up and all those kind of things. So when we were talking, the things that I was saying and the things that I was showing on paper, one of the things that he didn't understand was how to utilize an equity line, a home equity line. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't know it. When you walk into the banks, they're not marketing for you to buy a equity line, to get an equity line, to use a line of credit. It's available. Everybody knows about it. Wells Fargo has a equity line division, as do most banks, and they're out there because they know they're great loans. But one of the things that equity lines don't do is they don't cost any money. Most of the time, there's no fees associated with an equity line, okay? So they're doing it for free. Cost them time and money, and they have to have a resource to do it as a bank to provide this product, because if they don't provide it, somebody else will, okay? So they don't market it. And if you don't use the equity line, they don't make interest. And if you take out a loan, they make interest whether you use the loan money or not. Okay? So a lot of people don't know about it. And here's a guy with $300,000 of equity in his house. And, he's in his 60s. And the opportunity to utilize your equity is what? It's sell your house, or get into a reverse mortgage, which nobody knows anything about, and I can't imagine it ever been a good thing, or that's it, or you refinance your house and you get back into a 30-year mortgage. And when you're getting older, you want to get into a 30-year mortgage. You've been paying it off for so long. So your equity just sits there, and hopefully you don't need it, or you downsize and sell your house, and then you have this big cash lump sum. And if you have exceeded your homestead exemption, then you're going to get taxed on that as well. If you have more equity than your homestead, in Arizona, it's only $150,000. And so you've got all these possibilities of what's going to happen to you. So with equity lines, it allows you to grow, almost have a second job. You can take out an equity line, you can put it to work if you know how to do it, and then you can make money while you're at work or while you're in retirement off your equity, right? By investing in more real estate. And so I was sharing with him some opportunities that he could do with this equity line, and that he could probably get a $150,000 line of credit on his home based on his single mortgage. And in fact, not even have to do an appraisal, because the loan to value, how much he'd owe with both, it's called a CLTV, cumulative loan to value. So the value is 375 and the mortgage was only 75 and he had $300,000. So if he gets another 150, he's only at 60 cents on the dollar. Okay. And with that low loan to value, they might not even require an appraisal. They'll simply do a desktop appraisal. There will be no fees. And within 10 to 15 days, he'll have an equity line of 150 grand available to him. He's going to use that for the education. We've already found the money, and he's going to then implement velocity banking, and he's going to implement purchasing possibly a rental property. And pretty soon, with his education, he could literally retire himself from the flying he's still doing based on a few properties. When you have that knowledge and you just watch the class, whether you have done it or not, whether you have utilized an equity line, whether you own your own home. Now, remember, you're disclosing you're not a financial advisor. You're also telling them you're not a CPA and a lawyer and an accountant and all these things. But you're regurgitating, you're reiterating what you've learned, and you're giving people options. You're not telling them what to do, what they should do, how they can do it, or anything like that. You're just explaining the concept. But when you can explain the concept with layman's terms and they can grasp it and they understand it, and I promise you, they will experience something they're not used to experiencing. Somebody doing it genuinely who cares about them, and somebody doing it and sharing them something that is eye-opening. And when I sat next to him with my buddy Patrick, who invited him to be, he's on my team, Patrick, and he just enrolled last couple months ago, and he's invited Dave, his good friend, to see this information. And we're sitting there. Dave looked at me and he said, you know, Bill, he's like, he's like, that's what I want. He's like, I want to be that. I want that knowledge. I want to be able to do what you're talking about doing. And it's a powerful, powerful thing. You don't have to have done it. You have to have the story. And we talk about story selling. It's tell the story. It's step number 2 of the 4 money-making activities, right? And then it's the knowledge. It's the ability for you to just watch your education and watch it over and over again if you need to, so that you can comprehend the strategies that we're teaching, which nobody else knows about. The majority of the public, the general public, do not know about it. And that general public is going to be the people you're talking to, the people you're inviting. You know, as soon as somebody sees the information, if you're not 5-star, you need to be talking to your 5-star and get in front of your client on a one-on-one basis. As soon as someone sees the information, if there's an upcoming close event, maybe it's a Thursday night and I'm going to get them to Saturday if I can, great. But the one-on-one, in my opinion, is by far the greatest opportunity for you to build a relationship with your client so they buy into you as well as Renatus. And if you are not prepared yet and you're not comfortable yet, bring your 5-star, because your 5-star is going to get compensated for your efforts as well as his own or her own. And just sit and learn and watch the person that is doing the one-on-one with the individual. And, you know, yesterday in this particular one-on-one, I didn't need to go through the education. I didn't need to go through the different packages. I didn't need to go through even the funding. I just needed to ask questions and see what questions he had and where he was steering the conversation. And understanding how to get the funding is really where he needed to go. And then understanding where he was made him feel good. I mean, it made him understand that, you know, his situation wasn't as dire, because most people, you guys, when they hear 20 grand, when they think about the investment into Renatus, they don't have it. Because most of the time when we think about 20 grand, we just think about the money. We don't think about all the other opportunities there are out there to get the money. And so it's imperative that you know people's stories on how they got funded, and also all the different funding options that are available that you can suggest, and then follow up with a story. Okay, so let's talk real estate. Let's see. Remember, if there's any questions, type them in. Anything that has to do with I don't care, real estate or marketing or whatever, and what it doesn't have to pertain to this particular topic. And I'll go ahead and jump on it, and we can go off on that tangent. Because obviously what's most important is what you guys want to learn about, not what I want to teach about or talk about or mastermind about. Okay. So let me think. Real estate. Last week we talked about getting started in a deal and some of the opportunity to get going in real estate, and just talked about masterminding in real estate, and then you can move forward and that will help your sales, right? And so when we're able to have masterminds and talk about deals, and then you can share that that's possible with what Renatus offers, right? And so, one of the things I'll tell you, Dr. Gary Lawrence, he's on the pack. He's a friend of mine. It's crazy that how we met. So I had been in Renatus for a year, 2008, and Gary was introduced sometime in 2009 in the old company. And I'll tell you what, Gary's, he wants something, he's going to go after it. And I had a real estate mastermind with my team that I was already doing. And Gary was interested in real estate. He wasn't interested in the marketing, at least not at that point yet. It wasn't on his radar. What was on his radar was making money in real estate. And he kept asking me probably 2 or 3 times at different meetings to get into my real estate mastermind. And I had it set up for people on my team. And he had so much enthusiasm and so much energy at 64 years old and desire that I was like, you know what, Gary, come on in and sit down in our mastermind. Let's see if we can't put some stuff together. And so he wanted to learn more. And so he sat in the mastermind with us, and we were doing it once a week at the office. And I was in a strategy in 2009 of buying real estate. I was renovating it, and then I was tenanting the real estate, and I was selling it as a turnkey rental. Was one of my strategies in 2009. I did about 19 of these deals in 2009, these flips. And I just had started doing this, and I had this property available, and it was a good deal, and the rents were good, and it was a really good return. And he's like, I think I might have a buyer for this deal. And I'm like, really? And I was explaining, you guys, this is what I think about a deal, okay? This is how you get into a deal. There's only really, in my opinion, 4 elements to the deal. There's the deal itself, right? The property, the actual deal. Bring me the deal. And you always have heard me say this, you guys. When you're out looking, especially when you're new, or I shouldn't say new, when you haven't done a lot of deals, when you're just getting started in deals, or you're in a new strategy, the deal is not the deal. The deal is the seller. Okay? Now, it may be if you're working on a real estate owned by the bank, an REO, the deal is the house, but the bank is the seller, right? Now, what's interesting is, like on an REO, if it just comes on the market, it's a deal. It's a house. It's not a seller. But when the bank-owned property has been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, the bank now has a liability that's not selling. Now we have a motivated seller in the bank, okay? So my point is, I'm not going to get into details on an REO. It's a great strategy. I bought dozens of them. But there's no question that a deal to me is a seller. When people say, hey, what kind of house are you looking for? And I say, I'm looking for a house that has a seller that needs to sell, that doesn't even know they want to sell. Okay? So number 1 is you're bringing me a seller. Number 2 is you're bringing me the money. Because most real estate transactions, other than wholesaling, are going to take money. Whether it's yours or credit, whether it's your money or your credit or not, it's taking somebody's money and somebody's credit. And so I don't care if it's sub 2, you're still going to have to catch up the mortgage. If they're behind, you're going to have to pay off the seller for their equity. You're going to have to move them. You're going to have to compensate them in some way. You're going to have to put earnest money down. You're going to need to catch up loans. You're going to need to make loan payments. You're going to need to fix up the property. You're going to need to get it up to rental status. You're going to need to market the house to be rented. Whatever it is, whatever the strategy is going to be, even if you're going to buy a subject to yourself and move into it as your home, you still need to fix it up, bring it up to standard. Because if it's in perfect mid-turnkey position most of the time, it's not going to be a seller situation where they could just list the property instead of go to an investor. So number 2 is you got to find the money. You got to bring me the money. And I'm not talking about bringing me a hard money lender. I'm talking about private money to close on the deal, carry the deal, fix the deal, and all that kind of stuff. Number three, if you think about it, is the knowledge, right? It's the project management. It's the operations. It's the business side of real estate, right? I was just reading something this morning about how a lot of flippers are bringing product to the market. And today's in a market like today where their product is just crap. They're over fixing and they're not even getting it done right. The trades are too busy. So if they're paying them too much up front, or they are not in a good relationship with their trades, the trades are taking advantage of them. The trades are going where someone's paying them more money. They're leaving them. They're not getting the job done right. There's no general. They don't know what to look for. There's just a lot of crappy flips. And so there is a special knowledge that is taught in Renatus. You're welcome, Keely. There is a special knowledge that's taught in Renatus that is on our fix and flip and our rehab. And you don't get emotionally attached. You don't overfix. You have a basis of what you should be able to be paying for certain trades and certain materials and certain labor. And we have that available to you. What we also have available to you is guys like me and girls across the country that are doing real estate, that have done a deal or two and could share with you what they've experienced through our local communities and our group of investors. So you can go to someone else's experience and ask them what they're paying for a certain piece of labor, right? Including tile and paint and windows and everything. And you should know what you're getting on a retail versus a wholesale deal on those trades and what you should be paying as a flipper. So you've got this expertise that you need to have to do a project, to understand the knowledge of negotiating the deal, of converting the seller from a seller to your seller, right? And buying the house from them. And then understanding the contracts, and then understanding the project management, understanding the fix up, understanding the carrying costs and all the business side of real estate. That's number 3, right? That's the knowledge. That's the sweat equity. And then sweat equity, you guys, remember this. When your clients are like, you know what, if you could just get me in a deal, this is cool. If you could just get me in a deal, you know, I've got this trade and that trade. I can do this, that, and the other thing. I've done this before. I've done that before. And then I could get paid and then I could buy Renatus, right? Having a trade on being able to build a house does not make you a real estate investor. Okay? Being a general contractor, or any contractor for that matter, does not make you an investor. And here's why. Those folks, unfortunately, have a knack for being good at what they do. They are perfectionists in their trade. They want to do good quality work. They want it to stand out. And you want that too as an investor. But there are some tile that you don't need to change out. There are some countertops that you can cover up with a coffee pot. There are some paint jobs that you don't know to finish. There is some stucco repair you don't need to finish, right? When it comes to flipping properties, depending on the property. There are a lot of things that you don't need to do that they want to do. That they would never leave it like that. That if they're going to fix this part, they want to fix that part first so it all matches. And you as an expert need to make that decision. So when clients bring this opportunity for you to work with them and get them into a deal that you're doing, and then they get paid, and then they use that money for the Renatus education, they don't have the skill set. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the power. They don't have the ability to do what you need them to do at the right price. And at the right understanding. That's where the knowledge comes in. Number 3, sweat equity is not just, I know how to help you out and let me get in the deal and go find a deal and bird dog and do all this stuff. And sweat equity is not just desire. Sweat equity is knowledge. Sweat equity is using other people's experiences, even if it's your first deal and you doing it right. The 4th thing in a deal is a buyer. That's it. There are only 4 elements to a deal, to an actual real estate transaction, right? It's the end product user, whether it's a buyer, whether it's a tenant, whether it's a lease optionee, whatever the case is. So those can all have a 25% value if you want to put 100% value on the deal, or some might weigh more than others. In fact, money usually weighs the least. Okay, so with those elements of a deal, when you're masterminding, when you're deciding what it is that you're trying to accomplish with somebody, those are the only 4 ways for someone to get in a deal. There is no other way, right? So Gary said, I think I've got a buyer for this deal. And to me, that had weight to it. Now, when it turned out that, now here's the understanding. Gary gave me a referral, okay? Gary gave me a referral to somebody who could buy. So then I converted the buyer. I brought the buyer out. I introduced him to the product. I introduced him to the return. I introduced him to the opportunity. And what I mean by introduced it to him, I mean, I went through all that. I converted their sales, right? I sold them on the opportunity to buy my product, which was this turnkey property with a renter in it and property management in place. And all they had to do was pay cash or get a loan for the house. And so they bought the house. So for that referral, Gary made over $1,000 an hour for basically less than 3 hours of work, right? And that was his first start to real estate at 65 years old. Getting into a mastermind and the opportunity to work with the local community of investors. And the more knowledge that you have, right, the more understanding you have for being able to bring one of those elements to the table, the more value you're going to have. If you refer a deal, refer a seller, if you refer a buyer, or you refer money, you get a referral fee. You're not in the deal. If the expert, the investor, has to convert the money or convert the buyer, convert the seller, and do all the work and write the contract and ink the deal, ink the money, negotiate the money, negotiate the fee for the money, the price of the money, and negotiate with the buyer, all of those things, and their expertise and their knowledge is doing that element of the project. They're doing one of those 4 things. The person that brought them there, brought the money, they only referred it. Now, if you are in a deal, I mean, if you have the knowledge and you are working on that side and you have already negotiated the price of the money and you've negotiated the contract and you've written the contract and now the money is yours and you physically borrowed the money or will borrow the money once the deal is underway, then you are bringing the money. The money's yours. You borrowed it. You wrote the contract for it. You signed on it. You borrowed it for a year or 6 months or 3 months. You negotiated the interest and you're responsible for paying it back. At that point, you now have the money. And you can take that money that you borrowed and bring to the table, whether it's your credit card, your parents' money, or some private investor's money. You now have somebody else's money that you're using to get you into a deal and be a 50% or 40% or 30% partner or 25% partner. And you do nothing else in the deal except bring the money that you borrowed. Once you get paid and you make money on the deal, then you can pay back the money. The deal doesn't pay for the money. You brought the money. Okay? You pay for it. You brought it. Your portion of the net is going to be much greater for doing the conversion. Now, what does this have to do with marketing, sales, and making combos? Everything that, two things, all right? Number one is, in my opinion, this is just a variety of trainings that we're doing on the national call, right? I've been doing this now for a little over 6 months, 7-8 months, and every single Tuesday, pretty much. I think I missed one, but I made it up. So it's a little bit of a different perspective on training, but it's a marketing training nonetheless. And this is why. In my opinion, you package this up in your brain, in your mind, in your marketing tools and your marketing strategies, and you bring this to the table. And you ask questions with your team member. I don't care if it's a first time call with a cold market lead from any lead source you have, and you ask questions about what would it mean to you if you had this? What would it mean to you to talk to someone who's done 130 deals, made multiple 7 figures in real estate, and or whatever the numbers is. I don't even care if it's somebody who's done 3 or 4 deals in Utah or Colorado or what. It doesn't have to be me. And we always talk about the marketing side of things and people making money in the marketing, which is also true, right? The business owners like Michael Huggins making, and Scott Rowe and all the Utah guys and the Colorado guys, just everybody, Dane Clark, it doesn't matter who, making the amount of money that they're making in the marketing, which is all going to happen for you guys as well. You stick with it. You never learn to quit. Don't ever, ever, ever learn to quit, Renatus, and you will see what you hear about. You will experience what you hear about. So whatever the case is, you're bringing that to the table and you're asking a brand new person, you're booking them to a Thursday night, and you're like, what would it mean to you to be able to mastermind, to be able to listen, to be able to chime in, to be able to have somebody share their experience on what the 4 elements of a deal are be, or how to raise money, or how to get into your first deal. What would be the very first steps? And whichever one of those questions you ask and pose, they're going to have an answer. And whatever their answer is, it's right. And whatever their answer is, you acknowledge it. And then you share the story. You were never going to believe this. That's exactly how I felt. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's what I was hoping you were going to say. In fact, I've never heard that before. That's perfect. Let me tell you this. You acknowledge what they said, and you say, I was just on a call the other day, and we're on a national call, and I'm learning from one of the best, or however you edify the person that was on the phone, or whatever conversation you're having, whether it's this conversation or some other meeting you had with somebody in Renatus that's doing something and you're learning something, and you talk about it and you share it, and then you follow it up with a follow-up question. You lead right in. You don't pause. You don't give them a chance to acknowledge or anything like that. You're like, wouldn't you like to experience that? Wouldn't that be wonderful? I think you just told me that's what you're looking for. Isn't that what you're looking for? Isn't that what you mean? Is that what you meant by that? Isn't that what you were thinking? And of course, then it's their idea, and they're going to say, yeah, exactly. That's why you got to come down on Thursday night and meet these people. All right, cool. I have a question from Robbie. So my question is there a way to buy a house with just the consent of one of the 2 owners? They owe $85,000 in back mortgages. Wow. I don't know how that's even possible. They are separated. She wants to sell me the house. The husband says, let it go to the bank. Please advise. Okay. The person that is on the title has to sell the house. If the husband and the wife are on title, you need both people to sell the house. Both people have to sign the contract. Both people have to sell the house and sign over the deed. That's just a fact. The way around it, in my opinion, is that if there is one, is if you have direct contact to the party that doesn't want to sell, then you convert. And the way you convert that person is through bribe. And what I mean by that is an offering. You have to offer an opportunity for them to benefit from the sale of the property versus it going to the bank. And you need to get them to agree to your offer for them selling the house with the wife. One of the ways that I have done this in the past, where I have not been able to convert both parties, or didn't have the opportunity to convert both parties, is I turned to a third party to do it for me. And who do you think that third party is? My escrow people, my title gal. I love my title gal. She knows that I help people. She knows that I do good in real estate. She knows that I am an upstanding real estate investor, like we're taught in Renatus, that we are about win-win and that we are about helping people. And so for that, she's willing to take on the role sometimes as third-party mediator. And she's able to sometimes get these folks on the line and explain it to them in a very unbiased, non-threatening way and help them convert. She also has the ability of drawing up the proper documents and getting them notarized and signed and couriered over there, emailed or FedExed back to us if they're out of state. And she can get the signatures. And that's who I use sometimes to convert. And I've had to do it in the past, and she has been successful on several occasions. Unfortunately, it may be a deal you have to walk away from if you cannot get that husband to agree. If there is a difference of opinion to where they don't want the other person to win at all based on this divorce, then you may not be able to. But if you could get the wife to give you the contact information of the husband, and you could, you could possibly call the husband, and I would offer a bribe. I would offer, that's a lack of a better term, scratch that from the recording. I would offer a opportunity for that person to benefit from the sale of the property. Okay, I got another one. Tracy, I've heard of people doing this, but can't wrap my brain around how to do it to get an offer without getting it wrong and getting burned. In what circumstance would you put out an offer without ever having seen the property? And how do you analyze the deal without knowing what repairs may or may not be needed because you have not seen it yet? Tracy, great question. You guys, I love your freaking questions. I could spend the whole day on this call. Here's the deal. I have rarely ever made an offer on a property where I've already seen the house. So I don't go see the property until I'm under contract. So to answer your question, Tracy, is this. Number one is I do a desktop underwriting. 99% of people, underwriters, banks, wholesalers, underwrite property on a desktop. And what that means is they have access to MLS or some sort of comping tool, Flip Comp in the iOS software. I use that. I use MLS access that I have. I use my realtors, and I use any of the other websites. I use Zillow. I use Trulia. I use, if I'm out in the car, I use my HomeSnap app. And here's what I do. The reason for it, number one, is Maricopa County is so wide that it takes hours to get from one side to the other given traffic. So I'm never going to drive somewhere where I have a seller who's not even willing to be in the same ballpark and play in the same sandbox as me price-wise. So I'm not going to waste my time. Could I hold on, Robbie? I'm going to get back to Robbie's question on that deal. So here's what we got with this offer. I always make my offer. Now, there are some, okay, so number one is I'm going to make my offer. The reason I can do it is because I don't care what the house looks like. I'm going to estimate my repairs based on square footage and what I think the property is going to take to fix in the house based on what I know I need to do. So there are areas in Phoenix and Maricopa County that I know of personally, just from experience, but you guys can learn this very easily, what price per square foot is in the area and how much it takes to fix. So I estimate on the very low end on a crappy neighborhood, $10 a square foot. When I'm doing full remodels, cosmetics, and I'm doing cosmetic remodels in Arcadia, Scottsdale, other parts of Central Phoenix, things like that, I'm going to estimate between $20 and $30 a square foot, and I'm going to count every single square foot of full cosmetic remodel. I'm going to times it by a square footage. That's my fix-up cost, and then I'm going to double that for my estimated profit. And I can use my formula. And next week I got to go over my formula. That's what I was going to do this week. I use my formula, which are in the education, and I back out the numbers and I make my offer. Once I'm under contract, or I'm at least in negotiations with the bank, with the agent for the seller or the seller themselves or something like that, if I'm in the ballpark, right? Even the Keeley deal and we needed to negotiate the ballpark figure before I'm willing to drive all the way out there and see it. If she's at 180 and I'm at 120, and we can at least talk about 140 to 160, then I'm going. But if she's stuck on 180, I'm not driving out there for 180 because it's not a deal for me. So the reason I can do this is because I can write an offer and get under contract and then go see the property. Why? Because I have an inspection period. inside that inspection period, I can quit the deal anytime I want for any reason. I don't even have to see it. I can quit the deal. I can get my earnest money back for no reason. I've got as many days as my inspection period allows for me to cancel for any reason. The sky's blue, the grass is green, it doesn't matter. So then I can go see the deal. And then I can go back to them and say, you know what? I was so wrong on my analysis that it's going to take an extra 40 grand because it needs a new AC, a new roof, and new plumbing. Then my offer is now $40,000 less. You either take it or we negotiate it, renegotiate, or I'm out. And that's why I can do all of my offers and get under contract on all my houses before I ever see them. Now, there are going to be times when the seller is such a hot product and they're not going to take an offer from anybody who doesn't see it because they probably got burned before. They probably had wholesalers put it under contract. They get all excited. They're naive to the wholesaler. And then the wholesaler comes back, can't sell it because he offered too much and he never even went to the darn house. Everybody that did said the wholesaler was too high. And so the wholesaler goes back to the seller and says, it's going to cost too much. I need less money. And and they never even saw the house. And so then the seller and or the seller's agent is advising the seller that you need to make sure that you don't go under contract again until someone's walked the house. At that time, if I really want the deal, then there's a possibility that I'll go walk the house before I make my offer, only because I really want the deal. But I still want to be in the ballpark of where I'm going to be financially on the offer, because if I'm 50, 60,000, 30,000 apart and they have no chance of coming down in price, why would I waste my time going out there? Okay. So I'll give you my cell phone, you guys, again, if you want more information on that. But that is the way I do it. And that's why, in my opinion, if you really want to get into real estate and you really want to take advantage of your marketing and tell people you're making offers on deals and you're 2-3 months into the education, that to me is phenomenal. You don't have to do offers in your first month or second month at all. Get some education under the belt, get your marketing going, get your first enrollment under your belt, meet the people, get your entity established, do all the things you're supposed to do in the Renata cycle of life, cycle of education first before you're making deals. But you can be up and making deals in your second or third month, no problem, making offers. And you can be doing that from your home, from your desktop, from your iOS, with the experience of your education and your community. And you can be making offers without ever going to see property. And now you have something to share with people that you're making offers. And you are actually killing it. And whether you ever get anything, and you might even get stuff under contract, and then you're excited. Now you can take an investor with you, or take out a general contractor or some trades guy or handyman, and then go walk the property. And now you got an even better story. You guys, even if you never, ever, ever have to want to close on any of these properties, doing deals are great, but they're risky. Marketing a deal that you're in the middle of is not risky. And that's your thing. And you start telling people you're in a deal and you're making offers and you're under contract and you don't even have a dime raised or any money to your name or any credit. You don't even plan on buying the house, but you're under contract and you're going through the steps of the education and what it's teaching you. That is something nobody else does. 99% of America doesn't do it, and you're doing it. You're the expert. And now you are up here. You are the person they're looking for and that they want to be. And they are going to enroll because of your action steps that don't even involve buying a stupid house. Ravi, I'll get back. You're so welcome, Ronnie. I love you guys. I'm going to finish up. It's 9 o'clock. Ravi says, could I not go to the bank and work out a deal for them before they go to foreclosure? You still, okay, understand, folks, the bank is simply a lender. The bank does not have the ability to sell your house for you or someone's house for them. They can agree to short sales. They can agree to modifications on the loan, terms of the loan, shortages on the loan, forgiveness on the loan, all the things that have to do with the money on the house and the loan on the house, the lien on the house. But they can't sell the house. You can't work out a deal with a bank because they don't own the house. They only lent against it. They've encumbered it. They've liened it. You have to work out the deal with the seller. So you could go waste all your time with the bank and get the bank to approve everything and anything you want and catch up the mortgage and all that stuff. But if this guy isn't willing to sell you the house and sign over the deed and sign on the dotted line and sell the contract and all that kind of stuff to you, then you just solved his problem for him for free. You've done all this work with the bank. The bank doesn't care who they're doing it for. They're just doing it for themselves. And the benefit is going to be the owner of the property. If you don't own the property or don't have control of the property through an equity title, through a contract, then you have now given the owner of the property, you've caught up the mortgage, you've solved the problem for them, and they're going to benefit from it without ever having to sell you the house. So you can go to the bank, but the bank's not going to sell the house to you. They can't do it. They can't work out something with you and then take away the house from the person that wasn't paying them. The only way they can do that is foreclosure. And that's why they foreclose. You need the consent of both parties. You need the consent of anybody that, now if the husband is on the loan and owes the bank, but he's not on title, and he's quit claimed his rights to his wife, or he's no longer on the title, or he never was on title, which means there's no way he'd be on the loan. You have to be on the loan, on the title, to get the loan. If you have to do both parties are borrowing money against the house, they both have to be on title at some point during that time frame. Whoever's on title has to sell the house. If there's one person or two or three, they all have to agree. If it's parties in common that own the house, tenants in common that own the house, all three tenants have to sign, unless there's a manager who can sign on behalf of everybody. But whoever's on title has to sell, and they have to title it over exactly how they took title. And that's how you have to get it. Sandra, you're awesome. Ravi, you're awesome. Thanks, you guys. This is fantastic. If you got my number, I'm going to type it one more time. 760-533-3141. It's past time. That is my cell phone. Call me, text me ever. I'll always try to get back to everybody. This information is valuable for you and your clients and your team, so you can actually do stuff with it. But more importantly, this isn't for you to learn education on real estate. This is for you because the education's for that. You don't need me for that. You got 30 other multimillionaire instructors teaching this stuff. But this is for you to go and sell to your clients. The opportunity that you guys have when you listen to the 4 people that speak every day on this call, Michael, myself, 3 people, Michael, myself, and Christian, and then all of your local leaders and your national leaders on the webinars, people that offers anywhere, no matter where they go. This is the stuff that is intangible, that is so powerful and so impactful, that's behind the scenes, that will close your clients on buying Renatus because you've experienced it. With that, everybody, have an awesome Tuesday. I love you guys. I appreciate your time and your energy. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate, all 70 of you guys that got on this call and spending your time with me. I'm grateful. Thanks. Have a good day. I will end the meeting. Lots of good info. How can I listen to this again? LaShawn, Abdi will put this on the Facebook group called Renatus Elevate Salt Lake City. Elevate Salt Lake City Facebook group. Get invited onto that. Go add yourself onto that, and you'll have the recording there. Beautiful. I'm going to end the meeting. It's 9:06. We all got to go. Thanks for, sorry I went over. Cool. LaShawn, get with, you got it, buddy. All right, cool. Everybody's got it. Talk to you soon. See you next week. See you tomorrow on the call. Make it a great day.